All right, so let's begin. So first of all, a very quick announcement that I'm going to keep this schedule every Monday 5 p.m. IST. We are going to have this live session, and I'll try to take a topic and I'll try to answer your questions. So let's make it interactive. So just give me a moment. There is a lot of glare on my glasses, so should be better now. Anyway, so what we are going to do is, again, we are going to solve one more freelancing project. So typically what I do is I go to Upwork. I do go to Upwork even if I'm not looking for a work, right? If I'm already busy and even if I'm not looking for work, I still go to Upwork for two reasons. Number one, I get a good idea about the practical job postings, what kind of jobs are being posted. And even if I'm not intending to apply and if something attracts me, I try to write the code. So that way I get to learn a lot. So this was again one of the project, and I found it interesting because this was something that probably I can show it to you. And I will also suggest you to do the same if you want to get more hands-on practice, that you go to Upwork and just search for web scraping and look for the kind of projects that you have. And if you increase the price filter, let's say if you're looking for 5,000, not 5,000, 500 or $1,000 plus kind of work, then you will see that there are a lot of other things which are involved in the project apart from web scraping. So what we are going to do today is we are going to scrap one site. Okay, so this I'll talk about this site actually. I like this site for other reasons as well. And this site is actually called Project Gutenberg. And basically this is completely legal public domain library. And you can get the textbooks or ebooks from this site. So if you want to find ebooks which are in public domain, which are legally available, this is the site. And the other favorite site which I have is LibriVox. So LibriVox is for audiobooks and this one is for ebooks. So the task that was posted on Upwork is very simple. You come to this site and here you have a section. Here you have a section for frequently downloaded top 100, right? So you come here and the specific section that this person was looking for was top 100 ebooks from last 30 days. Okay, so you click on this. So you'll reach this URL. Okay, now you'll notice, see this scroll bar here? It's a very small scroll bar. So there are a lot of items on this page. So there is a huge list. So basically top 100 ebooks yesterday. So there are different sections. And what we want is top ebooks from only last 30 days. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to create a selector. So we'll be starting the spider from this particular page. So we'll take this URL and we will use this to generate the spider. And what we are going to do is we are going to create a selector. So this is going to be a little bit challenging selector because all these are hyperlinks and there is no distinct ID or anything like that. And we have to get, there are 100 ebooks, so we have to get all these links. And once you click on these links or follow the links, then you will have this link to read this book online in HTML format. So when you click on this link, then you will have the complete book available. And what you need to do is this entire book that needs to be saved as a document, Word document, docx file. So that is what we are going to do. And there will be some challenges. Of course, there will be challenges because not everything will be, straightforward. There may be some pages. So anyway, what we are going to do is we are going to start with a basic spider. And we also need to figure out once we have the HTML. So this is all in the planning stage, right? So we will get the HTML. So we know that, okay, we can follow this link, and then we can follow this link, and we have all these 61 chapters. So we can extract this HTML, right? So the next part of this problem is how we are going to convert this HTML. Okay, I did not, my camera is probably going to die, so I'm going to switch to screen only. Right, so we are on screen only, no face for the rest of the video. So what we have to do is we will get the HTML from this page. Now once we have this HTML, what we have to do is just give me 1 second. YouTube is giving me some suggestion. All right. So what YouTube is saying is you're using very high bitrate. Anyway, so that I will correct later. So what we have to do is we will get the HTML, and then we need to find a way to save this HTML. Okay, I need to select this scene. All right. So once we have this HTML, what we are going to do is we are going to make use of another package. Started raining heavily. So we will make use of this package, and this package will help convert that HTML to the document. Okay. So this is all about the project that we are going to do. All right. So what I'm going to do is, as always, we are going to start with the terminal, and I've just created one blank folder. There is nothing in it. And I want to emphasize the importance of creating a virtual environment. So the first step that I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a virtual environment. Okay. So we can use any name, but we will do everything inside virtual environment. So venv active bin activate. All right. So we are inside this virtual environment. And if we look at pip list, we see that, okay, apart from pip and setup tools, there is nothing else installed. So this warning is always irritating, but yeah, just let's run it, because I don't like to see this warning. Anyway, so what we are going to do is we are going to install Scrappy. Okay. And now this is more of a habit. I always install Scrapper helper. Sometimes, okay, I need to use pip install, right? So I always install Scrapper helper. Sometimes it happens that I don't even use it. You're welcome, Heather. And we will have it every Monday, 5 p.m. IST. So this LXML is going to take a little bit of time. So probably in the next video, I'll keep this at least virtual environment ready. So we'll save some time. So what I'm doing today is I'm using two systems. So I'm keeping a Windows machine and a Mac machine. In case you want to know how to run these using cron and task scheduler, that also I can show. So let's see how it goes, and depending on that we will see. So it's taking a little longer to install. So what we are going to do is let's open one new window. So what I'm going to do is, what was the folder that I created? Gutenberg. Okay. All right. So Okay, this virtual environment is also ready. So what we are going to do is we are going to generate Scrappy spider. And there are so many things I want to tell you, but probably this video is not the best place. Thank you, Anjan. So I hope that you find it useful. So these live videos actually allow interactive sessions, so which is the most interesting part. Now, Scrappy Gen Spider we can generate. Okay, let's start with the Gen Spider and generate a standalone spider. So Scrappy Gen Spider, and let's call this Gutenberg. And the fourth parameter is supposed to be the start URL, right? So we can paste that. No, I copied it, but so just in case, let's start. Just for a change today, let's paste this. So we'll start the spider from this page, right? So let's copy this, paste it here. So this is going to be the start URL, right? So now we have this. So let's open Visual Studio Code, and we have this spider ready. And we also need to make sure that we have the warning that Python interpreter is not selected. So that is what we have to do. So whatever virtual environment we have created, so this virtual environment that we have created, so either we click on this button, and it is already smartly located that in the current directory we have this venv folder. So Pylint is not installed, so we'll install that. So this is part of the usual virtual environment creation, right? So now we can see that the virtual environment is active. So let me hide it. Come on. All right. So let's make it big. Now see, usually I show it in almost every video that I just put an X as the start URL, but let's see in detail why anyway we have to edit these two things anyway. So because in allowed domain, what it has done is it has simply copy pasted this complete URL, right? So if you want to use allowed domain, we'll have to remove everything. So this part anyway we have to edit. So what was the use? If I have to paste it, copy paste it, then if I have to edit it, then better not to use it. Anyway, I just don't use allowed domain typically. And here's the critical part. See, it has unintelligently prefixed HTTP, but it was already HTTPS. So again, this also we have to edit, right? Now there is one more thing which happens is that it puts slash at the end. Now usually it doesn't create a problem, but there will be some instances where this slash will create a problem. The Fallen One Gaming, you need to correct me how exactly I should be reading your name. So anyway, so this slash also we are going to remove. So this we always have to do it. So that's why I prefer just to put an X so that this template is, template generator is satisfied and we can move on. All right. So we'll come to this URL and let's go back to the site. And now what we have to do is we have to create a selector. So today it's raining very heavily outside. So obviously it will rain outside, but it is raining outside just outside my office. So I'm expecting there will be some kind of disturbance, some hissing or some sort of not so clean noise. Okay. So anyway, what I was going to say is that let's play with one extension. So this extension is called Selector Gadget. All right. So this is what it is. So this is called Selector Gadget. Okay. And this website is selectorgadget.com. So what you can do is once you go to this website, you can actually go to the Chrome extension, you can install it. And in fact, if you are not using Chrome and you are using Safari, or not Safari, I'm not tried it with Safari, but Firefox, for example. So what you can do is you can just drag and drop this part here. So it will create a JavaScript functionality. It will use the JavaScript functionality and it will create the extension, right? So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I already have the extension installed. So I'll show you how useful extensions can be and what is the danger of using extension both. Okay. So whenever you activate the extension, so let me show you how to use this particular extension first. And this is not the only one, by the way. So there are many other. So whenever you click it, now you need to notice the bottom of this part, okay, bottom of the screen. So right hand side bottom. So I know that it's not going to be very readable, but this is the limitation. If I want to show you clear 1080p stream, then it becomes very small. But anyway, right now you can see that no valid path found. Now what I'm going to do is whatever I want to select, I'm going to click it and this path will build dynamically. Okay. So let's see. So I want this link to be selected. So I'm clicking on this. So you can see that it has just created A, and it has whatever links it is going to select. It has highlighted all those links in yellow. So now the next part is whatever you don't want, you click again. So now you click it again because I don't want this section. So now you can see that the selector has been modified, but it is still selecting 612 items, and we don't want that many. So it's the fallen one. Great. So it has created a selector which is going to select 612 items. So it is still not correct. So let's scroll up and down. And yes, we can see that it is selecting top 100 ebooks last 30 days. And what was this one? Top 100 authors. No, okay. So I need to restart actually. So I've just closed it. I'm going to click the extension again. So this is not the section that I want. So actually the section that I want to select is top 100 ebooks last 30 days. So I'm going to click on the first link, and then I'm going to click on the links which are being highlighted, but I don't want. Okay. And I'll scroll down and again click on this link which I don't want. Okay. And just keep an eye here. So what we have is this selector, and it is selecting 102 items. So now where is that 2 extra items? Because we should have only exactly 100 items, right? But this is a good starting point. So this can be a good starting point, right? So I'm scrolling quickly up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. So this is my selector, which is the starting point. Oh, by the way, if you want XPath, you can click on this XPath button and it will give you the XPath. And this XPath usually is very strict and very accurate, and that is usually not what we really want. So if you're very comfortable in XPath, you can take this XPath and play around and fine tune it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this selector, CSS selector. Okay. Press F12, go to Elements tab, and in the Elements, I'm going to press Control F. Now I have this box, find by string, selector, or XPath. So this is where I'm going to paste the selector. And let's see. Yeah, Nasir, there was one video where the participants were, and that video was, I think, about CSS or XPath selector, how to create that. So anyway, so let's come back here. So I got a little lost in my thoughts. So we can see that this one is not something we actually want, right? So this is the link to the self. So this is not something we want. right? So we don't want everything which is inside OL. OL is for ordered list. So if you see OL, you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now inside OL there is LI, and inside LI there is this link. So again there are two links here in this particular case. Okay. So how do we make sure that we are selecting only the links to the book? So let's fine tune this selector. So removing this one is very easy. What we can do is we can write the selector like this. So OL, and if you put greater than, then it will look for immediate descendant or children. So now we are back to 101. Okay. So this is the only extra selector that we have to get rid of. So if we expand other LI, we can see that there is only one anchor tag. Okay. Only this one has one additional anchor tag. So in that case, what we can do is we can look for all the anchor tags inside LI, which are the last item, right? So for that, we have one function called last child. Okay. That's it. So now I'll look at this carefully. All the OL tags which are number 18. So on this page there are at least 18 OL. So we are taking the 18th one. Inside OL we are selecting the children LI, and inside that we are selecting the children A, which is the last child. So now we got a good selector, which is accurate selector, which is 100. Now here is a word of warning. Now you see this number 18. So if this web page changes and there is a new section added which contains one more OL, then this will break. Okay. So what we should ideally be doing is we should be looking for this text. So we should be looking for this text, and this is very simple actually. So what we can do is we can look for this ID, this H2 with this ID. So the ID is not going to change. Then we can go one level up. Okay. And then we can look for the sibling, following sibling. So if we have to go one level up, now that is not possible using CSS. So if we want to go one level up, then we must use XPath. So let me show you both the ways. So I'm just going to copy this and let's come to the code, and I'm just writing this CSS. I'm just leaving it here. Okay. And let's come back and let's try to create an XPath which is much better actually. So we can just double click on any of the attribute and it goes into edit mode, or we can right click and click on edit as HTML, and I'm going to select this ID. Okay. So Control C, escape, and let's see how we can create the XPath. So I'm going to look for all the elements. Okay, so star, or we can also look for, and I'm just pasting @ and this. So if you are comfortable with XPath, you will quickly know that this asterisk means match all the elements where, and we use @ whenever we want to match any attribute. So we are looking for the ID attribute, and where this ID attribute is this particular one. Okay. So now we got this one, and this is foolproof because if there are more sections added to this side, still this selector is not going to break. Now what we have to do? We have to go one level up. So we can put slash and double dots, just like we use a CD dot, right? So we came here, and where is the list? So this list is just the following sibling. So we have following dash sibling. So all these things I have covered in one of the live videos on XPath. Okay. So following sibling and then double colon, and then we have to specify the type. So we can specify just, asterisk to select everything, or we can be specific and we can say OL. All right, and here you can again see that there are two items being selected. So what we can do is we can say that only take the first one. Remember that in XPath, the counting starts, or in the indexing starts from 1. All right, so we have this one created. Now we have come to the OL. So now we can look for all the LI, look for all the anchor tags. Okay, so still we have 101. And now what we want to do is, again, we want to select the last child. So I think the function, I'm just trying to recall. Yeah. So the function is simply called last. Now this has become little bit complicated XPath, right? If you are not comfortable with XPath, then this will look complicated, but this is not going to break. Even if there is some small change in the site, this is going to work all the times. So let's come to the code, and this is the XPath. So based on your comfort level, you can use any of this. This is more a more foolproof, right? Or rather, it can tolerate changes to the site layout. So let's take any of these, because for today anything will work. So what we are going to do is we are going to take let's take CSS. So let's go to the site and let's examine the link. Okay, so here you can see that the links are relative, they are not absolute links. So now we have two options. We can use either response.url join. So I'm just jumping on the same thing. So what we can do is we will create a new request. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Yeah. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a new request. So there are two ways actually. So what we can do is we can create a new request where we have to, okay, so this GitHub Copilot has completed the code for me. So basically response.url join, not directly XPath. We'll have to extract it first. Okay, and yeah, okay, thank you GitHub Copilot. So for book, yeah. So guys, try it. This is good. So basically whatever I wanted to show you, it has already created. So we are using the CSS and we are calling response.css, and let's rename it to CSS selector so that it is not, oh come on, for refactoring also I need to install this library. So CSS, and if I'm pressing F2, yeah, so this is the CSS selector and we are calling response.css and .get all. By the way, I missed one thing in the selector, which is actually extracting the href. So if we are using CSS selector, then we have to use :attr href. Now remember that this :attr href is Scrappy specific. If you are not using Scrappy and if you want to use this selector, then you'll have to, this will not work. So if you want to use BS4, Beautiful Soup, and if you want to use the select method, then this will not work. Okay. And if we are using XPath, then of course we have to use @/@href. Come on. Yeah. Now, so far, any questions? If you have any questions, in fact, you don't have to wait for me to just leave your comments, leave your whatever doubts you have. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are getting all the links, and all these links are relative links. So we are calling response.url join on each link, and we are creating a new request. Okay. And this new request can then be yielded. So don't forget this yield. Even I have done this mistake many times, and I realized that, okay, I forgot the yield keyword. So this is one way, but this is not the only way. So let me comment it out and show you another way. The other way, again, yield is going to be important. But what we are going to do is, instead of creating the request, what we can do is we can use Scrappy dot, not Scrappy dot follow, response dot follow. So we can use this method as well. So what is the benefit? The benefit, see again this GitHub Copilot, it's completed the code. So the benefit is that we don't have to actually convert the link into absolute link. So this is a simple benefit. So just be aware that there are both the ways which are possible. So whatever is comfortable, you can use any of these. All right, so let's move on. So now we have this parse book method which we have to write. Okay, so let's create a new method, parse book, self and response. Again, this code is already on GitHub. I will share the links. So now what we have to do is we are following this link. Now we have to click on this link which says read this book online :HTML. All right, so we have to press F12. Now this is where this extension is not going to work. Okay, so if I click on this extension and click on this link, and then whatever I don't want, I can click on this link. But now if you come and have a look at this selector that this Selector Gadget has created, it is simply looking at the numbers and a child number 2. So it is not guaranteed that this link is always going to be at this particular position. So if you want to create a better selector, then we have to actually look for this text. So what we can do at this time, we are going to use XPath like what we did in a previous one. Okay, so so this is the link. Okay, and title, download, class link. So there is nothing specific. Content text /HTML. So probably this can be used. So I'm just looking at the other ones. Yeah, this is useful. Okay. So this, when I was actually, having a quick look at the site, I did not see this. Let me show you what I just find out. So notice this link. Okay. This is inside a TD, and this TD has a content attribute. So this one is set to application/epub.zip, and this one, for this one, this content is set to text/HTML. So I think this is going to be very useful. So let's copy. Okay, I have to copy character set UTF-8. Okay, so let's copy this entire attribute and its value. Press Ctrl F. And if you want to use a CSS selector, we can just put square brackets and perfect. So we have our selector, so we can select this TD and then look for this anchor tag, and this works. So let's do one thing. Let's try with few other books. So I just want to make sure that I'm just pressing Ctrl and clicking on a couple of links. So I just want to quickly make sure that it works everywhere. Okay, so it should work here. I'm looking for some place where it is not following the standard format. So all these pages are okay. So just randomly I'm checking at one place. Ctrl F, Ctrl V. So yeah, it works. So let's use this. All right. So what we are going to do is, this time we don't have to run a for loop because we have only one. So this is our selector, CSS selector. Come on. Yeah, so this, and we have to get attr. attr href. So this microphone is right in front of my mouth and in between my mouth and keyboard. So usually I don't have to look at my keyboard, but when you know that you cannot look at the keyboard, you definitely make mistakes. Anyway, so let's use a response dot follow. Okay, CSS selector and get and self dot. Let's suggesting parse text, which is a good name. So let's use that. So this is going to be the callback. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. So we don't have to actually. Now we have the parse text method. Now this is where things are going to be interesting. So far this much was a little bit boring, right? So probably you have done this kind of work. Now what I'm going to show you is going to be a little bit more interesting and something new. Now what we want from this one is we want all the HTML. Remember that this library that we are going to use is HTML docx. So it will need, so if you look at the description, so after we have installed it and all that, so see here it's going to take HTML and we need to send this HTML, right? Or yeah, we don't have input file path. So basically what we want to do is we want to create an HTML string that we can supply to this library, this module, and that's how we will actually create this documents, docx files. So we have to create a selector which creates exactly what we want. So that is the part that is going to be interesting. So what I want to do is I want to have this one as h1, okay, or header 1. So let's select this. So whatever is the format in the page, I don't care, but in my document I want to have h1 because that is going to support h1, h2, all these standard styles. So let's look for how many h1 it has. So fortunately it's simply one h1, right? And this h1 contains the name of the book, Alice Adventure in the Wonderland. All right, so this is going to be very simple. So this is a simple selector. We got the title of the book. Okay, now we don't want this contents because these links, if you look at these links are for the web page, right? So these links are not going to be useful. So we'll have to find some other way to create table of contents if it is required. Now what we want to do is we want to create a selector which can create this chapter. Okay, so here you can see that we have to create a chapter. Yeah, so all these chapters are contained inside this div with class chapter. So we can use this chapter class. Okay, so let's verify that it is not selecting something else. So I'm just putting a dot and pasting in chapter. So let's see what it is selecting. So chapter 1, chapter 2, and let's make sure that nothing else is selected. So for this one it is fine. Okay, so this is the chapter 13. For this one it is working okay. So let's go and look at one more. So always for this kind of work it is better to test your selector with multiple books or multiple links, right? So this chapter, now it is showing me that it is selecting 62 chapters. So this is where I'm little bit doubtful. Okay, so how many chapter does this book has? See, it has only 61. So it is selecting one additional one. So let's look at the bottom one. So in the bottom we have this, okay, license part. So this probably you will have to fine tune, but just for the sake of this video, so that we don't spend too much time, let me show you directly how I'm going to use this selector. So what we are going to do is we are going to write this method. Okay, so here we will have response available. So first of all, we need the book title. Okay, so the book title is going to be response.xpath or CSS, doesn't matter, and we want to extract the text. Okay, and this text and get method. Now is this going to select additional characters? Again, let's save some time and directly take this. See, let's take this URL. Okay, and let's open shell. So Scrappy shell. So that is the most critical part, right? So I'm opening Scrappy shell and opening that particular page. So fetch method. All right. So now I want to test my selector, whatever selector I've created. So this is the selector that I've created. Be ready. I'm going to tell you one trick. Okay. So something that is going to be useful for you. Okay, clear and paste it. And now you can see that there is \r, \n. So these are additional characters which we don't want, right? Now, even if we were using CSS selector, we will get the same thing. So now what we can do is, instead of text, so let's just get it just like that. So we are getting the complete element. So there are two ways now. So we can call, what is the function name? Normalize space. Normalize dash space. So this is the function that we can call. Okay, so we can call this function on h1, or we can call this function on after extracting text. This is going to give us clean one. Okay, and let me show you one more way. So what we can do is we can chain XPath selectors, right, as many times as we want. And what we can do is we can call the normalize space function separately, and we can supply dot, just a dot. Dot means the current element, and this will also work. And this technique is going to be especially useful when this XPath has become really long. So in such cases, this normalize space, segregating it is going to be really useful. So this is a good shortcut that can be very useful. All right. So this is my book title. All right. So I will save this book title. Now I need the book content. So we know that if we come back to the page, we know that this dot chapter is going to give me the content. And this time I want the complete HTML, right? So what we want, this h2, what does it contain? Okay, it contains the name of the chapter. So again, every time getting chapter 2, let's see. So let's get this dot chapter. But if I just take slash text, then it is going to give me what it is going to give me. This is going to give me the complete let me show you what exactly I'm trying to explain here. So if you want to get, let's forget about this one. So okay, let's use CSS this time. So CSS dot chapter. So if I just print it just like that, you can see that this div tag is also included, right? If we want to look at first few characters, we can, let's say we can look at first 100 characters, and we can see that the complete HTML is being returned. So what we are going to do is, because we are going to use that package which is going to convert HTML to Word document, so we will keep this HTML with as it is, right? So we are going to call this method. Okay, so these are chapters, and this time we will call get all. So get all will make sure that we are getting all the chapters. But now we have another problem. And the problem is that we are getting a list. And we cannot convert a list, because eventually what we want to do is we want to create the an HTML string. So we have to convert this into a string. So how do we convert this into a string? So if we have a list, so what we can do is just use empty string and call dot join method. Okay, and just surround it into this. So what is going to happen is this is going to return, get all is going to return a string, and this join method is going to convert that entire list into one single string. I hope I got it. I'm explaining it in the correct way. So this is going to give me a string, which is this is going to give me a simple string. So this one already contains HTML, so this is not a problem. But from this we stripped the HTML. So what we are going to do is we are going to change it a little bit. Okay. So what we are going to do is we can use f string, and this is going to be the book title. And what I am going to do is h1. Remember that what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to create one HTML string which contains the entire book. Okay. So this is my book content. So this book HTML can now simply be, okay, I don't want to override book title, but let's write it like this. And why I don't want to override that book title, I'll show you in just a moment. And then we can simply append chapters. So now I have an HTML which I can export. Now, of course, I will not remember, and don't expect you to remember all the code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some copy pasting here. Okay, so simply open Visual Studio Code. Okay, paste in the imports. All right, now this is the code. I'm just going to copy the entire code. Okay, so this is do stuff to your document. Okay, whatever. So this HTML, now this HTML I've created. So this part I'm going to delete, and this book HTML, that's where I'm going to put it. And now we need to give a file name. So this file name is going to be my book title. So of course you can choose whatever you want to do. So I'm going to use book title, and we'll use f string, and let's put the extension docx. All right, so this is the entire code. So if you're in a hurry and if you want to leave the live stream, you can leave now. I'm just going to run this code and try to debug what if I face some problems. I'll just debug what is the problem that we are going to face. And if you're leaving the stream now, make sure that you are joining me next Monday, same time. And if you have some suggestions about what else you want me to cover, I'll welcome those suggestions. And yes, we have to install it. So let's copy this. Oh, by the way, there is one thing which I must inform you. So let's exit. Yeah, so I'm going to install this. By the way, we are going to face a problem in some of the books, and I'll show you how to resolve those problems as well. All right, so far looks okay. So what we are going to do is, whenever you have a for loop, don't run it blindly for all. So in the parse, we have a for loop. Okay, so don't run it for all the books. Just try it with the 1 or 2 books first, so that we know for sure that our code is working. Okay, so this XPath we are not using, so I'll just comment it out. So this CSS selector is what we are going to use. CSS selector get all. Yeah, looks okay. All right, so let's come to the shell. So what I'm going to do is Scrappy run spider Gutenberg.py. No module name docx. We did install it, right? So it is saying no module name docx. From docx import document. So why docx is not available? So let me have a quick look at the documentation. Yeah, this should work. Let me go to the home page of this project. See the dependency, it is depending on BS4 for parsing. Interesting. Anyway, so convert files from a string, you can do it directly. Interesting. Input file string. Anyway, so we will have this. So there are certain options which are available. So there are other options which we can use. Why it is saying that it's not able to identify that? So let me quickly check that. Pip list. If we look at pip list, we have h2 and we have HTML docx. But if I run it directly, so what I'm going to do is from scrapper helper, not from scrapper helper, import scrapper helper as sh. All right. So this will be a quick debugging. Okay. So sh.run and Gutenberg spider. Okay. And I'm just going to press F5 and okay, before I run it as let's set some breakpoints. So F9 for breakpoint, F5 and enter. So I probably zoomed out a lot. Okay, so there is no error here. So I'll directly come here and press F5. So book title, Alice in Wonderland, chapters, book HTML. Okay, so we have two requests going on in parallel, and document.save, it ran fine. And see, we have Pride and Prejudice. So open Pride and Prejudice. So it should open in Word. Okay, my license has expired, so that's a different story. But basically you can see that we got a nice Word document, which is properly formatted Word document. So I will not be able to edit that. Otherwise we could have done something else. So my old license Word document, Microsoft Word licenses, I was unable to migrate. So anyway, so basically, yes, so that's basically it. And there is one thing, what happened that when I was actually running this code on all the books, so if I remove this and if I run this in debug mode, so there are certain problems that we will face, which are pip install docx. Pip install docx. Docx is another package. See, anyway, this is working from Visual Studio and it is not working from a shell. So I'll check my, I don't know what is the problem, and I don't want to spend too much time on that. So basically I'm just going to let it run so that and yeah, there is a checkbox here which says that if raised exception. So this is useful. So yes, so I was expecting some exception. So here you can see that the URL cannot be none. So I just want to give you a taste of practically what kind of problems we face. So I'm just going to a debug console. Okay. So I'm going to make things little bit smaller. And here we are in parse book. So what we can do is we can look at response.url to see which book the problem had. So here we had the problem. Okay. So let's verify. Okay. So this is the CSS selector. So this CSS selector was either did not work or something was wrong. So Control F, Control V. So anyway, this we have to remove. And here we can see that, no, this was not the one, right? So parse book, why it is coming here? This should not have been here. Yeah, see, the CSS selector broke because this particular attribute is not here in this book. So now we know that we need to change our CSS selector. So let's look at this particular page, this particular element. Text HTML, see, because this character set is set to USSKey, and in our selector what we have is US character set is set to UTF-8. So now we have to fix this. Okay, so what we can do is okay, what are the things we can do? We can actually look for a partial match. Yeah, so let's look for a partial match, and partial match are little bit easier and more reliable in XPath. So I'm creating an XPath right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for all the TDs where this, okay, let's use the contains method. Contains method, and this particular attribute content, this content contains this content equal to text slash HTML. Yeah, so now we have a match, and slash a slash href, right? So this is this type text slash HTML. It's there in the anchor tag as well, but anyway, we can spend a lot of time. Yeah, probably I do have different environment, but anyway, so anyway, so this selector we will probably, if we work with this selector, this will be better. So what we can do is stop it, and instead of CSS selector we can use XPath selector, and this is my XPath selector, and instead of response.css I'm using XPath. All right, so let's run it again. So F5, and just make sure that this raised exception, so if we expand it, it will be more visible. So it says that whenever an exception is raised, the breakpoint will be hit. Okay, so now I can remove this and let it run freely. So if there is some error, it will hit, okay, it will hit the exception. Okay, so now we have one more, and this is what I actually wanted to show you. Now if you look at this error, it is coming in a new parser.add HTML to document. Okay, so what we are going to do is I'm going to look at this particular, so this is coming from the this library, HTML to docx. All right, so this is coming from this library, and this add HTML to document. So if you look at this, okay, so this is h2.d. So now what we can do is we can actually debug this. I can press, or we can look at the call stack as well. So it's coming from here, okay, and load all, and it's coming from, I'm just trying to find out exactly where it is coming from. So this error actually is being thrown because there is one anchor tag, okay, so we can spend some time on it. So there is one line here. Let me check my notes. So see, let me tell you what I did actually. So I know that there is something in this HTML which this particular extension is not being able to handle. So what I did is I just simply copied everything, okay, and let's come to my project, and I'm creating a new file and pasting everything, okay, and let's or rather, I could have done this also. So basically file save as, and it's on desktop Gutenberg, so save, okay. So now if we look at this, let me stop it and show you what I'm doing. So right now what I've done is I've created a copy, don't save, okay. So this h2d file, okay, so that I've created in my local folder. So let me open this folder, Control Shift E, open folder. All right, so in this there are a lot of, yeah, so this is the one. So what I'm going to do now is, instead of using that, so here we said that from docx import this document. So instead of docx, I'm going to use this h2d, okay, and this HTML docx. So where is this located? Yeah, so this is anyway again going to come from, yeah, so h2d. So this local copy that I've created, I'm going to run this code using that local copy of that library. So this is a good chance where I'll be able to actually contribute to this library. So we are going to wait for that. Yeah, so file not found error. So see, now we can see that it's trying to load this image. So this image is not available. So either we need to write some additional code so that image can be handled, or what we can do is we can modify this file so that if there is some error, instead of file not found error, you can just set the pass, you can ignore it, or let's see, there should be some option to ignore the images altogether. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to modify this library itself. So if is instance and all that, except file not found error. So if there is this error, then I don't, do I want to, okay, so it was just throwing this error. So press F5 because it was not stopping the execution. Okay, file not found error. See, because of this raised exception, it is going to raise an exception, but I'm just going to continue because anyway, this exception is being handled. So this one was not handled. So this one I want to see where it is coming from. So add HTML parse text. So where is this coming from? I miss Visual Studio, the full version. So that is much better at handling errors. Much more helpful. Or probably I'm just used to that. So I'm looking for all the links. Okay, so I see here. So this is where the problem is. So the problem is that it is looking for all the links, and if it is an A tag, what it is trying to do is it is trying to handle that link, and the particular link that we are processing, that does not have an one href. So I don't want to go into details now. The video has actually become already very long. So basically what we have to do is we have to modify the code where it is handling, and instead of directly getting this A tag, we'll have to modify this code so that we are also checking the value of A tag, right? So if link, so the modification that I did was if link and link dot get href. So now I'm modifying the library itself. So href. So what this will do is it will check whether it is a link and the link has href attribute. So this is an edge case. So this is not typically a problem all the times, but this will handle this particular scenario. So the idea was that basically if you're working with open source libraries like what we are doing right now, you can take the code and you can modify that code to your specific requirements. So it was quite easy, and actually if we look at all the folders, we will see that okay, we are able to get all these documents, all these documents we can look at, and we can see this one has, so this one is another one, and here if we look at this one, so this one doesn't have the complete HTML. So this one is specifically, again we'll have to modify, look at the text and check our selector whether the selector is working properly or not. Okay, so these kind of fine tunings you always have to do, but I hope that today's video was at least somewhat useful for you, and you liked it. So let me know in the comments or in the chat box what kind of video you found it useful or not, and what you want me to cover in the next videos. If you have specific suggestions, they are always welcome. So whenever you are facing by the way, this web scraping is a gray area, like we all know, right? So I have some limitation on what I can show on YouTube and what I cannot show. So I will not be able to answer your answers specific to very specific sites, but I will always be able to, guide you in specific areas. So whenever you are web scraping, so there are a lot of things that you have to consider. So when it comes to showing sites on YouTube, I will rather be careful and show only the sites which I'm allowed to show for educational purposes. So that's all, guys. Leave me your comments. How was it and what you want to see next? So that's all. See you next time.